Good morning, everyone. A couple minute late start. We were having technical problems here. That happens, even to the best of us, so I apologize for that. I am Mike Renick. I'm a local real estate broker. I am the senior broker, the team lead with Team Renick Real Estate Services, part of that great Keller Williams on the Water family. We're so proud to be aligned with those folks. We're working hard this summer. We'll continue into the fall and into the winter to bring you content that's important to you, either as a buyer or a seller. So on Wednesday mornings, we're going to start a new series called Title Time with Mike and Mike. And my guest will be, for all of these, Michael Hankin. He's actually, let's bring him on and I'll do the introduction. But our goal is to provide you with information that makes a difference for you. So let's get him in. There we go. Hey, Mike, good morning.
Good morning, Mike. How are you today?
I'm fine. How about you?
Doing great. Thanks for having me on.
Well, it's great to have you here. So let me give the introduction. I wanted to bring Mike in first, but he's an attorney with a law firm of Hankin and Hankin. Mr. Hankin practices primarily in the areas of residential and commercial real estate transaction. He's an approved agent for the Chicago Title Insurance Company, Attorney Titles Insurance Fund, and the Old Republic Title Insurance Company. And he's been designated as a board-certified real estate attorney. That's the highest level of recognition given by the Florida Bar. So, Mike, it's so great to have someone of your stature here today and someone who's willing to meet with us weekly to share your insights in terms of issues with title. Thank you.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me. Really, my hope with this is to keep it relatively short and sweet, just some hopefully very useful information in 5 or less minutes. Today, I wanted to cover something which I think has the largest impact when it happens on people in a transaction, and that's fraud. We like to say that the only thing worse than buying the wrong house is paying for a house and not getting it at all. And unfortunately, we've seen more and more fraud. One of the methods of fraud that's utilized quite often these days, and something that we think buyers should be very aware of, is a trolling scheme. And in that, a hacker will obtain a person's username and email address and then monitor their emails over a period of time. When they see they're involved in a real estate transaction, towards the end, even sometimes at the beginning, they will send an email to the person, to the buyer, and it will look like a legitimate email from the closing agent. And it will include wiring instructions and say, hey, it's time to wire your escrow deposit, time to wire your final payment for closing. And that's a quite normal thing for a buyer to get. And unfortunately, when fraud's involved, that money goes overseas, goes out of the country, and sometimes never seen again. So what we suggest to buyers is before you send any money, pick up the phone. Call your real estate agent, say, I want to make sure that this is the title company, get the contact information for the title company, and then confirm verbally with the title company that you have the proper wiring instructions, that they did send you the email asking for the earnest money deposit to be sent or asking for the final wire funds to be sent. Don't trust anything that comes electronically. And in these days, going old-fashioned telephone calls, person-to-person interactions is really the way to keep you safe.
Mike, if that happens and that money gets sent to the wrong place, what recourse does a buyer have?
It depends on how that happens. So if your title company's email gets hacked and they send you an email from the right email address telling you to send the money somewhere else, that's the title company's fault. They didn't maintain proper security, and that would be their liability. If instead it's your email that gets compromised, or instead you think you get an email from the title company, but it's instead from somebody with a very, very similar email. A lot of the times they'll change an L to a 1 in the email address. So you just look at it, it looks the same. But if you get an email from them and it's your mistake, then that's on you, and your whole either earnest money or final payment could be gone.
And so we're talking a large sum of money, especially if it's either, especially the final payment, correct?
Absolutely. Another thing a buyer can do is a lot of the times these trolls who breach your internet security, breach your email security, and are watching your email do this over a long period of time. They have computer programs and algorithms that monitor your email and look for specific things like real estate transaction or earnest money in your subject lines. So in those cases, they're waiting the whole time. One thing a buyer can do right at the beginning of the real estate transaction, change your email password. And if somebody's been monitoring your email, you might not have known, but you will have just kicked them out from monitoring your email. So little small things like that really can keep a buyer safe.
The big thing when you're involved in something and it's going to be an electronic transaction is, I like what you said in the beginning, it's using plain old fashioned technology called the telephone. Pick the title company, pick up the phone, call the title company, talk to the attorney you're working with, whomever, to make sure where you're about to send those funds is the right place. That makes sense, Mike?
Absolutely. And one kind of final point is, don't doubt yourself. If something doesn't smell funny or something doesn't smell right, if something smells funny, keep digging until you feel comfortable with it. There's no reason you should be uncomfortable at any point throughout your transaction. And don't be afraid to stand up and say, hey, this is bothering me. I want to figure it out. We're all here to help you in that and to make sure that those problems are taken care of.
Mike, do you have a couple of seconds where we can dive into a transaction that you and I were involved in just a few months ago in terms of a fraudulent deed that was involved with a piece of property?
Absolutely. I'll let you take it. You tell it better than I do.
So what? Well, there's a big part you have to tell. So what happened is a gentleman reached out to me and he wanted to list a vacant land here on Longboat Key. And so we did the due diligence and we looked at the market value, and I shared with him it's worth about $600,000. And he says, Mike, you don't understand. I need it sold in 2 weeks. It's got to move fast. Cut it in half. Sell it at $299. So most agents who are moving fast and maybe have, or maybe are excited about that, it's thinking, boy, if I list that for half the value, it's going to go really fast. I get a quick closing. I get a commission check out of that. That's good. Well, at Team Renick, we don't behave that way. We don't even think that way. Something just didn't seem right. So he wanted to give away this valuable piece of land with a prominent location here on the island, and he wanted to do it for half price. So I called Mr. Hankin and said, I'm not comfortable. So Mike took it from there. And Mike, will you share what you found out and how you did that?
Sure. So we researched the title to the property and found a recent deed which looked funny. And in real estate, when something looks funny, you keep digging until you find out why. And through a bunch of research, contacting the prior owner who lived up north, we found out that it in fact was a fraudulent deed, that the person who prepared this fraudulent deed was now attempting to sell it. And had we not dug, had we not said this smells funny, they would have been able to sell that property and nobody would have been the wiser. And it's really amazing the different types of fraud that they keep inventing. And right when we think that we've solved the last one, they come up with the next one. So although we have various methods, it's really evolving day by day. You have to stay on top of it. When something smells funny, look into it. Keep digging.
And see, I think that's the best piece of advice I've ever heard. If someone said, I love it when I get an email that says you've just won a contest that, of course, I never entered, or I can get a free cruise or whatever. But in real estate, you have to be very careful. There's large numbers involved, and this just didn't seem right. So instead of moving forward, it's time to take a stop, put the brakes on, and do some investigation.
My dad always says, when in doubt, don't.
Yes, and I like that. And to finish the story, so they took it away from me. We didn't tip our hands yet. And they went to a gentleman here on the island who's as honest as anyone. But because he's a huge lister with large numbers of listings, he wasn't able to do the due diligence with his team, and he actually put it on the market. Well, we alerted him right away, and he took it down because, like I said, he's honest. But the due diligence wasn't done because of the size of the amount of listings he has. So I'm glad that we've elected our model to go upscale, high touch, high service, but keep the number manageable so we can provide those kind of things. You just never know where the next fraudulent curveball is waiting for you around the corner. Right, Mike?
That's true. Absolutely.
Anything else you'd like to add before we close?
No, I think this was a great first episode. We'll keep bringing you every week, Wednesday morning at 9 a.m., new and hopefully useful information that will keep you out of trouble.
All right, everyone. Thank you for joining in. Those of you that saw this live, those that'll see the recording. Again, it's our effort every Wednesday morning to bring you information that makes a difference as a buyer or a seller. And even if you're not in the market today, there may be a time that you will be. You can share this with friends or family that might be. It's all about providing you something for your safety. It's all about looking out for what everyone should be doing. So I appreciate everyone logging in. Michael, thank you for being here. You're an amazing attorney in person, so thank you.
Thanks, Mike. Thanks for having me.
We'll see everybody next week. Take care, everyone.
Take care. Bye-bye.